Today we're going to be talking about history. Let me just clarify what the title of this episode means. Obviously, the past cannot be broken, but history, the telling of the past, can very well be broken. Indian history, for example, as we all know, is a North India centric, cisgender, heterosexual, normative, upper caste narrative of the past. Don't believe me? Well, why don't you name some South Indian freedom fighters then? What about Northeastern revolutionaries? Or any LGBTQ plus leaders at all? Any tribal leaders at all? Any Dalit leaders whose names aren't Ambedkar? Or any Sikh freedom fighters who aren't Bhagat Singh? If you couldn't answer half of those questions, and I know you couldn't, it's not your fault. I mean, not entirely, at least. See, the history that we talk about and the history that's taught in our schools, it's very biased. We're taught the entire history of Congress, but there's no mention of any freedom fighters that weren't affiliated with the Congress. And it's not like the BJP is going to do any better in the next 50 years. The Congress told us that you had to stop at least a few bullets from hitting Gandhi for you to be called a freedom fighter, but 50 years of the BJP, and I'm sure they'd tell us that you'll only be called one if you put 3 bullets in him. Because history is controlled by those who rule the present. And that's why it's no surprise that actor Ben Kingsley, who played the role of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, didn't sleep with his nieces in the movie Gandhi, although the real man did. Oh yes, by the way, he slept with his nieces to test his celibacy. He's written it in his own autobiography. But props to the Congress, I guess, for hiding all of this just to maintain the squeaky clean image of Gandhi and Nehru, although they were both very deeply flawed men. One of the reasons why it's so easy to twist history is because very often we don't see people who are undergoing and experiencing historically relevant events as people. We see them as masses. For example, Napoleon Bonaparte, a fierce leader, a revolutionary, and also an egoistic authoritarian emperor, once decided to host a rabbit hunt for his men, for which he got 3,000 rabbits, but the moment they were uncaged, every single one of them mobbed him. The idea of the man that literally changed the history of Europe getting his shit rocked by a bunch of bunnies, it really humanizes him, doesn't it? I mean, to be fair, they do have creepy eyes, but, well. Oh, another one. Long before salty exes were cropping each other out of their pictures, Stalin used to retouch his pictures with people that he didn't like by simply painting their faces off. I mean, I get it. Like, why would you want to have a picture with a democratic dickhead, right? Like, I completely get it, and you deserve better. See, one reason why we don't see the humanity of the past is so that we can't take direct inspiration from it. Especially those who belong to communities that they want marginalized. But there's a way to fix it. Historical revisionism is basically the act of reintrospection of history from a changed lens that challenges these orthodox views that we consider the norm. It's the retelling of history without the status quo. And because history is not always just black and white. More often than not, it's grey, and it's our job to question it. And so how can we start? We can start by giving credit where it's due. Literally. By crediting leaders and revolutionaries from minority communities of the past who've not only contributed to our history, but also to our culture immensely, we're not only reclaiming the narrative, but we're also setting a new one. So you know what? Forget the history that we've learned in our schools. Today, we're going to be talking about some epic and some of the best stories of Indian history. Stories of incredible people doing incredible things. Stories that you've probably never heard of before. So, let's get started. Have you heard of Velu Nachiyar? Now, I might be messing up the pronunciation of her name, in which case, please feel free to let us know in our DMs or in the comments section. So, Velu Nachiyar was the first Indian ruler to fight and win against the British way back in 1780. She was an excellent archer, trained in multiple martial arts, and could fluently speak in English, French, and Urdu. After her husband was killed in 1772 by the British, she started gathering support from local leaders, even including Hyder Ali, and began planning a coup. But you know what the most interesting part of this entire story is? She took back control from the British by orchestrating the first suicide bombing in the history of the world. Her command-in-chief and right hand, Kuyeli, a Dalit woman, doused herself in ghee, set herself on fire, and jumped into the British Army's arsenal. Dude, isn't that crazy? And isn't it insane that there are 2, maybe even 3 movies about Bhagat Singh, and there's not a single movie about this? Another story is that of the Viranganis. The Viranganis were heroines, Amazons, or warriors that fought in the rebellion of 1857. They were all from lower caste communities led by Uda Devi, who with the help of Begum Hazrat Mahal created the first all-female battalion. Would you see that? Women supporting each other. Just another reason to let these legends die. Another story is the story of Abadi Bano Begum, also known as B. Amma, the well-known burqa-clad freedom fighter. She was one of the first Muslim women to actively take part in politics and the Indian struggle for independence. She not only participated in the rebellion of 1857, she raised awareness and funds for the importance of local goods. She went around and participated in the Khilafat movement. She fought for the education of her sons. She also raised 6 children while traveling across the country and giving speeches for independence. Talk about multitasking. Her sons, Maulana Shaukat Ali and Maulana Muhammad Ali, definitely picked up some of her patriotism, and we now fondly call them the Ali brothers. B. Amma was immortalized through her words that echoed throughout the nation. Boli Amma Muhammad se, jaan beta, khilafat pe de do. Dude, that is literally the plot of a movie. Right there. Netflix, what are you doing? That is my number. Call me up anytime. I am ready for this. Please, can we do this? Another example is the example of Birsa Munda. Birsa Munda was a folk leader and a revolutionary who belonged to the tribal community of Munda. He took part in all of the fights against British imperialism in the late 19th century and also actively participated in the revolts against the British who were trying to capture the tribals' land. When he was in school, one of his teachers, named Dr. Notrot, continuously used casteist slurs against the Munda community, the community that Birsa belonged to. Birsa Munda left his school and never returned again. He began to notice that upper caste Hindu landlords and the British levied very heavy taxes on tribal and agriculture communities like the Mundas. And so he convinced his fellow farmers to revolt against this, to fight against this. He was promptly put into jail. But the moment he was set free, 2 years later, he started fighting back even harder till the day he died. However, he doesn't find place in our history textbooks, does he? Because of 2 reasons. He wasn't an upper caste Hindu and he didn't belong to the grand old Congress party. Because let's be real, the only criteria for classifying someone as a freedom fighter post-independence was whether you were affiliated with the Congress party or not whether you actually fought for independence or not. We all know about Rani Lakshmi Bai, for example. But do we know about Jhalkari Bai? Jhalkari Bai was a Dalit woman who loved fighting and riding horses from her very childhood. And so when the British came, she fought back hard. Not only that, when the British were about to seize the kingdom of Rani Lakshmi Bai, she approached them, confronted them, and fought against them, posing as Rani Lakshmi Bai so that our Jhansi ki Rani could escape. How insane is this story? And how did we honor her legacy? By reducing her to an item song in the movie Manikarnika. Thanks to part-time actor and full-time Twitter troll Kangana Ranaut. Those are all the stories that we have time for today. But there are so many more. Inspirational, aren't they? These are so important and they need to be told. They need to be discussed. Because they were relevant then and they're relevant now. Studying history is so much more than simply mugging up dates, although I did have to do a lot of that for this episode. I wish I could explain to you though the importance of history, the depth, the reach, the impact, the relevance. Actually, wait. I think I have an idea. History. What's that? It's the stories we write unintentionally. History. So what? It predicts the future unconditionally. You see, it's a cycle that goes around. The telling of the past is how the future will sound. Ever wonder why dissent is unpopular, why modern revolution is seen as some rioters? It's hidden in the way we speak of independence, a clean, pure struggle that needed no amendments. A manufactured text, one that cleans up all the mess so that no one can relate to all the bloody deaths. This country was not built on the shoulders of soldiers who forced their controllers to give up and fold. This country was built by the people that told us that they were the forgers of this nation's soul, while keeping aside those that had died for ideals that they wanted to hide. Lied, misguided us, as they made sure that those stories were buried alive. In the midnight hour that our country was born, dissent and revolution became the norm. The duty of every person, our voice is now the hearse, and we carry these cursed men that nobody should ever mourn. So raise your voice until they hear us. Nearer and there'll come a time that they'll fear us. Cause our history is not a system he can twist anymore to grant him victory. It's not a mystery. Inconsistencies at the heart of the agenda that he wishes we would buy. That this hatred will set us free. That oppressive is the way we're intended to be. But he's forgotten an important part of all this lore. Our country has fought off oppressors before. Look back closer and you'll see we won't be bystanders in history.